Welcome back to the Stick 'em Up podcast. Burundi, we are here. We have our webcams on. We actually have for those who are listening with the audio only, we have a visual component here that hopefully will go through and we won't have to cut from this video. Hopefully it'll work, but uh, hopefully this will become the norm for the podcast going forward and especially this upcoming season because it's always fun to be able to put a face to the voice and also just get our reactions to some of the goofy shit we say.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It was a difficult process for us to figure this out and get to this point that we're doing it. But hey, we're here. We're doing it now, and yeah, we'll see. We'll see if it holds up. We'll see if my system doesn't completely crash like it did. But we'll roll with it until it stops working.
Yeah, we're not exactly IT guys, but we got it set up in not too much time. So uh, putting some effort into it later, I imagine it'll only get better. I can't imagine the quality will get worse, but I'm also not an IT guy. Maybe it will.
Just anything's possible with us around these parts. Anything goes.
Anything goes. With that said, we are in the heart of the off season. We're starting to come out of it. Every once in a while, we're getting a little bit of news, but this past little bit, nada, zilch.
That's why we took another week off.
Yeah, there has been nothing going on. So this might be a fast and loose episode because we really do not have pretty much anything prepared. I think we've each got a couple of talking points that we haven't even told each other about, and we're just gonna shoot the shit about some hockey, man.
Yeah, we're going in completely blind. Usually for every episode, we've got kind of a script, a list made up of what we're gonna do, kind of how we're gonna do it, and a little bit of preparation, so it's not completely off the rails and chaotic. And that is exactly what we're actually gonna do today. We're just gonna go in chaotic and off the rails, no script, nothing. We've got a couple of things that we each maybe want to talk about. We're just going to go through and we're going to see what happens. We're just trying it out for a fun format here because, again, we are, trying out the video component of it. It was a kind of a pain to get there. We finally kind of got it going and we realized, oh, shit, yeah, we have nothing to talk
for
about.
The actual
this is exactly the way we're going to do it. And I think we can just kind of jump into it and see where this journey takes us today, and hopefully you guys enjoy this format. It's not a forever thing, obviously. We're just in the middle of the worst off season that has ever taken place, right? So
I actually think I saw something earlier today saying that I don't know if it's like the last 2 weeks or if it was just I think it was the entire month of August, but last year we had 8 signings, trades, or offer sheets because the Broberg and Holloway thing happened in August. We had 8 of those last year. There's been 0 so far this year.
Yeah, there's been nothing.
No, they're enjoying their long break, those GMs.
Thankfully, August is almost over because, again, this month has been absolute shit. But we do kind of have a general idea of how things are going to look in the coming weeks for us. Obviously, we're going to be doing a division by division breakdown per episode, so that gives us a chance to kind of talk about each team a little bit, not for too long, but a little bit, and kind of look at where they're at going into the season, where we think they're going to finish. So that's 4 episodes right there, division by division. And then I know we've talked, we're going to have an episode where we do all of our award predictions. And that's always a fun time to kind of see how poorly those do at the end of the year, and a couple other things. So, we're trying this out today, but we do have at least 5 or 6 confirmed ideas that will get us to hopefully near the beginning of the regular season.
Yeah, just kind of waiting to get around that point. I believe it's 40 days until hockey's back. I think I saw earlier. That might be the regular season, though. The preseason might start before that. Hopefully,
at least during the preseason, we'll still have things to discuss.
There's stuff going on.
Stuff that happens. Yeah, the games aren't always easy to watch. Yeah, kind of get a good idea of how some teams might look, and if there's some rookies that impress, or maybe some that don't. Could shake things up, but let's just dive right into the nothing that we have here. Do you want to throw out the first talking point that we're going to roll through, or would you like me to?
I got one here. I would not be surprised if this is one of the things you prepared, but I've just got the remaining UFAs brought up here because there's a couple of pretty decent players that still do not have a team. And, I would not be shocked if quite a few of these guys we'll talk about here are going to get signed, but it's quite a long time for some of these guys to be waiting to find that job. Um like guys like Jack Roslovic, Matt Grzelcyk, Nikolai Kovalenko, did he go back to the
He went back.
KHL?
He went back to the KHL. Yeah, I wasn't the biggest fan of that move for him. I thought I really liked his game. So didn't like seeing him, go back to the KHL after only 1 year, over here in the NHL. Brozovic,
Sharks
yeah, I
fans
mean,
and Avs fans were talking pretty highly about that guy. Like, 57
he's
games
just good
played,
on the
20
forecheck.
points.
Yeah,
Yeah, he must have just
he was.
really not liked the North American style of living, I guess, right? Like hockey
Yeah,
didn't
I
seem to
mean,
be the issue.
there's numerous things that could be right. We've seen so many, KHL guys come over here that, have a high profile coming over and, people are excited to see them in the NHL. And yeah, sometimes it only lasts, 1 or 2 years and they go back over and that's it. So it was unfortunate to see him go, but again, there's always numerous circumstances that go into that decision for him. So the Roslovic and Grzelcyk though, yeah, those are two guys that probably should be signed already by now.
Like,
I think Roslovic was close to a deal with Vancouver, and then it kind of sounds like that one
ooh,
fell through.
I
But I
wouldn't
know
mind that deal
Vancouver
for them.
was going hard after him. The market is still there for him. Like there's still teams interested in talking to him. Um, but yeah, by this point in time, like almost end of August, kind of
Yeah,
surprising that he's not already
yeah,
signed.
and it's interesting because a lot of the guys on this list here, John Merrill, Jan Ruda, Thomas Tatar, like
Jan
there's
Ruda, he went back
some
to
older guys.
Switzerland or Czechia.
Oh yeah, he went back
He might
overseas
have
too.
gone.
So
He might have gone to this. I think the Swiss league. I want to say, but I know. Yeah,
that
Jan
sounds
Ruda,
right.
and that was only like a day or two ago. It was very recent. He made that move.
Good for him. Still, some of these guys like they play into their mid 40s or 50s in those leagues because if you were able to be an NHL player for 700 games, you're good enough to play in the Swiss league till your the wheels fall off.
I
You
mean,
know,
no disrespect to those leagues, but
no,
yeah,
no,
you're not
no
wrong.
disrespect.
You're not wrong. You're
Yeah,
not
it's
wrong.
more about the caliber of NHL players most of the time. Um,
I do
Brozovic
expect
is so
those
weird
main
to me.
guys though to sign. Yeah, I
Yeah,
think maybe Rosovic's just waiting for the right offer from the right team, and
I feel like I hear a lot of things about him. Like a lot of people look and they're like, yeah, he's kind of good, but they just a lot of people just like are like, yeah, I feel kind of indifferent towards him on my team. But like, I don't know, he's only 28 years old. He played a full, well, almost full 81 games last year. He missed a single game. He had 39 points, so like a a point under half a point per game as a depth guy. And
yeah,
I don't have it up here, but if I'm not mistaken, the majority of those were probably goals. Like he's a pretty good goal scorer for a depth guy.
yeah. I was gonna say, as points like that is all more being a
Uh,
depth guy on
yeah,
teams. So
22 goals, 17
yeah,
assists.
it's very surprising that he's not signed again. Like I fully believe by the start of the season he will be signed somewhere. He will be playing uh,
Yeah.
for one of the 32 teams. But yeah, it's kind of weird that at this point in time now, again, almost end of August, doesn't have a contract. But I fully do expect that to change sometime coming up here soon.
Um, what do you think about a guy like Matt Grzelcyk? Like played all
Yeah, I
82,
felt like there'd be a
40
market for
points
him.
as a defenseman.
Yeah,
Like
there should be a market for him.
you got to
Um,
wonder if some of these guys are maybe they're just asking for too much money that teams aren't picking them up. But you know,
yeah,
it pretty much everyone else got signed, right? Like What are they
What's
really
holding up
digging in their
these
heels
guys?
that much?
Yeah, and that very well could be the case, because again, like two good players and the numbers and the results that they put up, um, you know, speak for themselves. So yeah, maybe it could be something just as simple as just asking for too much money and teams aren't willing to do that, or they want too much term, or you know they're fine signing a 1 or 2 year deal, but they're like, hey, I want a no movement clause because I want to stay here. And the team's like, it's not going to work for me. Could be so many different things, but yeah,
Yeah,
eventually they will sign because they're too good of players to not be playing in the NHL next year. Even if they got to settle for a cheaper 1 year deal, they'll
yeah.
do it because playing for $1 million is better than playing, well, not even playing and getting nothing
And
at the end of the day for the
your
team.
value only goes down if you don't play for a year, right? Like,
Yeah,
you know, can you
exactly.
explain this gap in your resume? Um, I'm not sure if I have really a place in mind for Roslovic where he could end up, but there seems like a very rather obvious answer almost for me where Matt Grzelcyk uh, should be signing, at least a team that should be going after him. That's the Detroit Red Wings. I'm pretty sure it was like last
Yeah,
episode we were talking about how who's their second best defenseman? Is it already Edvinsson? If not,
yeah,
Ben Sherratt, Eric
yeah.
Gustafson,
That doesn't help. Yeah,
like getting a little bit of extra scoring on that blue line and just another solid hand. Like, you know, maybe yeah, there's definitely the argument that the Red Wings shouldn't be going after just another fringe top four defenseman, but I feel like he's a bit of cut above the rest of the guys that they signed for that spot.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't even hate that move. I think that, yeah, because again, like we did talk about that with Detroit. The goaltending is looking better than it has the last 2 years for them. The forwards are looking, good, but it's the defense that really hinders them, to the point where we like Buffalo's chances more than Detroit's because um, at the end of the day, Buffalo made moves to address their defense, and Detroit really didn't. They kind of just stuck with what they have, even though it's very clear that it's not working. And they're probably going to suffer because of it again this year. So I don't hate that move of Grizzly coming in and you know making Detroit's blue line better because they need that more than anything.
Yeah, and looking at the remaining UFAs, he's the only even like really arguable guy on defense that moves the needle. Like he's not a game breaker, but like the next highest up, at least as far as cap wages says for projected salary cap, the next highest was Jan Ruda. Well, he went back to the Swiss league. John Merrill, 6 points in 70 games last year. He's 33. They already have quite a few left-handed defensemen. I don't even know if he cracks their roster. Uh, there's several more goalies and forwards before the next defenseman. Whoever else would be next on their list is making like league min. So there's unless they had a glaring oversight on some guy not signed, there's there's not really anybody else they can go out and get besides guys like Axel Sandin Pellikka coming up through their system and getting that player from within. So
They just
I think it
signed
would
Hamannik.
be
I forgot about that.
they did sign Hamannik. I is it
Just
crazy
remember
to
that.
say I'm
Yeah.
almost like a little bit surprised he's still in the league? Like I just like
Um.
not saying he's
He,
actively bad. I don't know. It feels like I haven't heard that name in so long. Was he still on the Senators?
yeah. He spent the last 4 years with the Senators. I think he's totally fine as a bottom pair guy. Like he's nothing more than a sixth defenseman at this point. And I mean he is 35, but he's a defenseman that is going to go out there. He's just going to do what he can to play good defensive game, and he's not afraid to mix it up, get a little physical and block shots, and I think that is valuable on a third pair. Um, but again, you bring in Hamannik, and if you're bringing him in and you're saying, okay, he's not our sixth defenseman, he could be like 4 or 5, or honestly with Detroit, potentially even 3, like that's bad. You should be bringing him
That's
in
not
with
how
the
you have a
sole
winning team. Yeah.
thought process of he is either our sixth defenseman or he's coming out of the lineup for our seventh defenseman or for a young guy coming up. And
Or it covers injuries. Yeah.
yeah. So again, like I don't hate Detroit bringing him in, but they all like again they need more help than just that. You
Yeah. Is
can't
that your
take a
big
bad
move for
blue
the
line in.
offseason?
Kind of is for their blue line at least. So yeah, like there's lots of stuff they can still do to try and turn things around. But yeah, the main thing is, they have to do something for the blue line there.
Yeah. I I really do think at this point it feels like Yzerman he's just committing to the team he has, and he's hoping that, Sandin Pellikka, Edvinsson, Marco Casper, like all those guys will improve, and that'll be enough to put him over the top. It might, but it doesn't feel like it's gonna happen soon enough to save his job, if that's what he's
Yeah.
going for.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
It might work eventually, but I
not
don't
right
think that's enough to
now.
get you into the playoffs in the dogfight of the Atlantic Division. Like
Yeah. That division's only getting
Montreal
better right
blew
now.
past them. Montreal blew
Yeah.
past them last season, and I don't think they're
And the
falling
door
back
is
behind
open
them.
for Buffalo to do the same.
Yeah,
Like there's a possibility that Detroit is the bottom team in the Atlantic. I'm not saying I want that, but that's a very realistic possibility for them. And that's not good. That is taking a huge step back from what you've been trying to build for the last 8 years or so through this rebuild process. And you're supposed to be coming out of it. And now you're looking like you're kind of falling back into it. And I don't love that for them.
yeah.
One thing that could potentially make sense for Detroit is a right-handed defenseman who it now is starting to sound like, and I'm not saying just for Detroit, but they definitely, I think, are going to be a team that could be in the mix. I don't know if you read the article, but I read the other day, and it was coming from Michael Backlund, captain of the Calgary Flames. And essentially,
Okay.
point blank, he basically was saying that, yeah, Rasmus Andersson is going to be traded. That
Right.
was basically the brunt of what the article was. He said it's obvious that he will be traded.
I imagine that's about as far as it went. He didn't give a timeline. Like it's not really his situation or anything.
Yeah, pretty much. He's just kind of basically saying like, yeah, like from what everything is sounding like, Andersson will be traded at some point. Obviously the team wants to get good value back for him if they trade him, and obviously, Andersson's looking for a big contract, a big payday, and more than anything, it's probably just the two sides just aren't aligned on what a contract could look like.
It
Or
really
and
sounds like
in
that was it.
Calgary's case, I mean, you also look at you've got Uyghur and how many young up and coming, defensemen you have, especially on that right side. Like
Yeah.
it makes sense to trade Andersson rather than give him a big, contract. Kind of similar, but not entirely. Going back a couple years, when San Jose decided to trade Timo Meyer. Everyone was like, why would you trade him? Like he's a perfect part of your core. You build around him, but it's like you need to take a step back to take a step forward. And I kind of feel that way with Andersson, where if you can walk away from an Andersson trade and you get a first, a good prospect, probably a forward prospect because you have so many defenseman prospects, and another piece, I think you explore that. And I think that's what Calgary's, going to do here.
Yeah. Luckily for them, it is kind of a win-win situation because, either you're keeping a really good player or you're trading and most likely getting a good amount of value. I think people around the league know how good Rasmus Andersson is, and I've been definitely on the side of they should try and keep him if they can, because he's just been there forever and he wanted to be there. I do genuinely think at the start of contract talks, both sides wanted to get a deal done, but it doesn't even sound like the two sides like soured on each other. It just sounds like he wants more than they're willing to offer. They had their number, they weren't willing to go over, and the numbers don't match up, so they're trying to find the best scenario for him. So luckily it sounds like there's no ill will. If he goes into the season and, starts playing for him, it doesn't sound like it's going to be bad for the Flames having him play. Like, it's not going to be this toxic thing overshadowing the entire season for them or anything. So that's good.
Yeah, no, because or like again, because it's Anderson, his contract is up at the end of the year, and people love to be like, oh, why would you go into the season with him? Like, obviously, he's just gonna be sour and like not give a shit. He's gonna give more of a shit because he's playing for a contract still.
Yeah.
Calgary could say to him at the beginning of the season, we don't know when it's gonna happen, but by the trade deadline, you are gonna be traded. And Anderson's point of view will be, okay, well, I need to work my ass off, so teams want me. And when there's a trade, it's probably going to involve an extension. I can get what I'm looking for. But if you go out there and you play shitty and you play disinterested and be like, well, I'm getting traded, so why do I care? Well, you're not going to get a good contract because no one's going to want you even if they see that. So, yeah, so I don't think the relationship is going to be bad or anything. And Anderson might go out and have the best year of his career because contract year, right? Players do that all
Yeah.
the time. It's just a matter of what team is willing or is able, I guess, to give up the best package for him, and are they willing to give Anderson closer to what he wants as opposed to what Calgary was willing to give him. And I think that's possible because we've seen how good he can be. So.
Yeah. And you know what? I definitely don't think it's as likely as him going out there showing about what he's worth and then getting traded. But it sounds like they're on good enough terms that I wouldn't be incredibly shocked if he went out there and maybe he looks really, really good. And maybe Calgary goes, okay, we'll meet you at your money.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah,
I don't
that's
think
always
it's
a
as likely
possibility.
as him getting moved, but I don't think the bridge is burned on the
Yeah,
extension
no.
fully.
Like every possibility is still open, is still out there. So and again, it's probably gonna be something that happens during the season. Like I don't expect a trade to happen before the season, probably because Calgary wants to do their full due diligence. So you don't want to rush into a trade when you're trading a guy as good as Rasmus Andersson, what he's done for your team, and again, if you're trading him somewhere where he's willing to sign that 8-year deal because he still can, if you're Calgary, you can get that much more out of a trade as opposed to trading him somewhere where it's like he's just a pure rental for you and he's gonna walk. Type of thing.
Yeah.
So, it'd be interesting to see how that whole process plays out. But I think Anderson will come in more fired up and ready to go because again, he's playing for a new contract, and if he wants big money, now's the time to go out and prove it.
Yeah. Do you have any front runners that you think are going to be like really keeping an eye on Anderson? Like, do you have any teams that you're just have this gut feeling that he's going to end up on?
I mean, I thought maybe Detroit. I think Detroit's always got to be an option when you're looking at defensemen, right?
There could be a real fun deal in the mix there.
I mean, I keep hearing the rumors that like Anderson wants to go to Vegas, and like it makes sense, but at the same time with Vegas, like that, it's not going to happen because one, Vegas doesn't have dick all to give up for Anderson, and two, you don't have the money, especially when looking at you're gonna have to pay Jack Eichel pretty soon here, and bringing in Anderson and giving him eight, say 8 at the bottom number, doesn't really align with what Vegas is trying to do. So I think that one's out the window. The Dallas Stars are always an interesting option because they need right-handed defensemen more than anything. So I think that's always a possibility. Trying to think of like a team in the East that maybe makes sense for a guy like Anderson. I'm assuming Calgary would probably want to try to trade him to the East if possible, and not have to worry about playing him so many times. But I mean, I think Dallas is the best.
Dallas makes sense.
it makes the most sense. And I think Dallas has pieces to give up for him too, which is also an important part of it. So I would say Dallas most would be my pick if I saw Andersson get traded.
The main piece that they're going to want back in Calgary, in my opinion, should probably be a young, good, like blue chip prospect that is a centerman, or at least a forward, ideally a
forward.
centerman.
Yeah, 100%.
I'm thinking, you want to trade him to the East. The Red Wings check that box. You want a young, good centerman. They got Marco Kasper, who looked real damn good last season. I'm sure a lot of Red Wings fans wouldn't want to move on from him, but their forwards are pretty decent, and Rasmus Andersson does a lot more for you soon than Marco Kasper would.
I also will say Kasper looked better on the wing than he did at center, at least from what I saw and from what I've seen kind of some Red Wings fans saying. Not to say that he can't be a centerman, though. Like, I think 100% he definitely can. Like, that's... but yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of got to be a guy if that's going to happen. Like, that is what the basis of the deal needs to kind of be around, right? And again, I think if you're Calgary, you're going to have multiple suitors. And if you ask Detroit and say, hey, you want Andersson, but we want Kasper, they say no. It's like, well, we're not going to work something out then.
Yeah.
You don't settle when you're trading away one of your top 5 players. I think it's fair to say that Andersson still at this point is a top 5 player on the Flames. So you're not settling when you trade him. Like you don't do that. So, Detroit and Dallas are just they those two teams make the most sense because they need help on the blue line, especially on the right side with Dallas, especially. So, could make that work.
What do you think about a team like Buffalo? I know that they've since because they had all the guys on the left side, and they've since covered some of their holes on the right side. But having a guy like Rasmus Andersson, a top 4 of Rasmus Dahlin, Rasmus Andersson, Owen Power, and whoever you want to put on the right, whether that's probably Kesselring.
Yeah.
That's
not a bad top 4. That's not a bad top 4.
Then you got Matthias Samuelsson would be on the 3rd. So you know what? If you do want to move off from his contract because it felt like it was signed a little prematurely, I'm sure the Flames wouldn't mind taking that deal on. I don't know if you'd have to retain $1 million or if the Flames would just be fine with that. But they take that back.
Are you talking about Bowen Byram?
Matthias Samuelsson.
Oh. I don't know. Why wouldn't Calgary just go for Bowen Byram instead?
You could. I mean,
I think Bowen Byram would be pumped to go to Calgary.
I was thinking more you would get your value back in a young forward because they have so many. It would just be making some room for the Sabres if they needed on the blue line.
I guess
taking one guy back. But the Sabres, this forward core is kind of nasty. They've already got their main guys up front, like their Alex Tuck and the Tage Thompson and all that. But they've still got Zach Benson, Josh Doan, Peyton Krebs is starting to finally take that step. Jack Quinn, Yuri Kulich, not all of them can get top 6 minutes. At a certain point, you're at 7 or more players.
What if honestly though, what if you just do something like, Rasmus Andersson and something for Bowen Byram and Peyton Krebs? You get 2, you get 2 Canadian boys. Krebs is, from the area. Like, you'd be pumped to go to Calgary, and he's a young centerman that can kind of do a little bit of everything in a bottom 6 role. Bowen Byram kind of replaces Andersson for this year, and he's a left-handed defenseman, which also kind of helps because, it opens up a spot on the right side, but you also can add a decent defenseman on the left side. And I mean, for Buffalo, like it makes sense for every reason to add Rasmus Andersson onto your blue line when you could use one more right-handed defenseman, and Bowen Byram doesn't want to be there long term.
Yeah,
There's potential in something like that.
I could definitely see it. I think if I'm the Flames, I would want a little more than Peyton Krebs as the forward. I don't know if it gets up to a Zach Benson. I think he's going to look pretty
Yeah,
sick, but
no.
you know, I I think Peyton Krebs might be a little too low down
Maybe
for
a
that.
Yuri Kulich type player.
Yeah, like something like that might be a little closer. He's also a little more of a question mark because he's only 21. But I think there's definitely teams out there that teams always need right hand defensemen. So
Yeah,
and especially top end
possibilities
ones
are
like
there.
that. There's plenty of
100%.
options for him.
Yeah. But it's all things considered. But it was interesting to see that Backlund, the captain, the team fellow Swede, kind of confirmed that. Yeah, Rasmus Andersson's probably going to be gone at some point here. So it's definitely something that we can keep an eye on going forward here. But what is your next talking point here, if you have one?
Oh, I think that might have been most of mine. Yeah,
Because
that
I
was
still got like a couple that we can kind of
okay.
toss back and forth. Um, in the last episode, doing our season preview, we kind of talked about the contract years for some big stars. And is there any, big named UFAs or RFAs that you could see traded here at any point during the season?
Ones that we could see traded. That's a very interesting prospect. That could be that could be
Because
huge.
again, it's kind of like what we talked about. Like we already talked about Rasmus Andersson, how he was, one of I think basically the top defenseman UFA that could be traded, and especially after last year with the Rantanen situation and all that. Like we saw him get traded not once but twice because he
Yeah.
was a pending, UFA, and there was a lot of uncertainty there. So I think the door is wide open now, where guys like McDavid, Eichel, Kaprizov,
It's kind of like nobody's safe.
most likely aren't gonna get traded. Like it's 99% that they're not gonna get traded. But the door is always open because if there's not a contract by the trade deadline, teams might move on and be like, we have to get
Teams are
something.
unless the extension was signed, like I think, Kirill Kaprizov, Jack Eichel, Kyle Connor, Panarin, Marty Necas, I think any of them get traded if they don't know what's happening by the deadline. I don't know about McDavid, but the rest of
Mhm.
them, I think GMs are so afraid of this massive skilled player getting just lost for nothing. And
Yeah.
it is one thing that I did kind of respect Toronto for being like, nope, we're going for it. We want to try and win the cup. We're not going to worry about it. We're going to go into the playoffs not knowing what happens with Mitch Marner. And they're the only team that got to 7 games against Florida, so there is that.
Yeah.
Um,
They do walk away with that out of it.
and luckily he didn't fully walk to free agency. They got some stuff back for him from Vegas, trading him just before so he could extend there. But you know, Kirill Kaprizov, unless he freaking hates it in Minnesota, they're re-signing him. I just can't see it. Jack Eichel, I mean, they really like him there, but you just brought in Mitch Marner. Is Jack Eichel your best forward now? I don't I don't know. I
Yeah.
so, if he's asking for a ton of money, you just gave 12 mil per season to Mitch Marner. We've seen Vegas be ruthless before. I wouldn't be incredibly shocked to see them be like, "All right, let's trade Jack Eichel for a bunch of guys on bargain deals or something or make something work." So, yeah, you know what? I wouldn't expect it, but I could see Jack Eichel getting moved.
Yeah, I think it's very unlikely, but again, like the possibility is there because again, like yeah, you just did bring in Mitch Marner, you gave him that big contract. If the rumors that Jack Eichel could be looking at 15 mil are true, like that's a problem for Vegas. That's going to be a tough road to navigate, especially when you are trying to win now. And Um, trying to figure that deal out as well. So I mean, it's a possibility. What do you think of Kyle Connor?
Kyle Connor, he seems to like it in Winnipeg. Winnipeg, they know they need him. Like, I think that team could survive losing Scheifele, as crazy as it sounds. I think, you know, Hellebuck, Morrissey, and Kyle Connor are the three that you can't lose. So I
Hmm.
think they would do, even if it means a pretty hefty overpay, I think they would do it to keep him around. But
Well, and I think it makes it easier for Winnipeg, right? Because like goalies themselves are in their own kind of different tier. They're in their own little world and bubble
yeah,
as part of the team. Kyle Connor is the best player on the Winnipeg Jets, right?
yeah,
So it's not one of those situations of when you're trying to negotiate with a Martin Necas or an Alex Tuck or something who are also pending UFAs and being like, you're good, but you're not our top guy. And this is what our top guys get. Like Kyle Connor is their top guy. And so it's pretty easy to be like, figuring out a deal where it's like you kind of have free range for kind of what you're asking for and where we're willing to go because there's no bar that we can't cross type of thing,
right.
right? So the door's kind of open for like you see what Kyle Connor wants and then you go from there and it's not like you're going to the table being like, you know, let's see what you're asking for, but just know we can't give you more than this guy. That's our limit, right? Like Kyle Connor will become the limit for Winnipeg, and
Yeah.
again, like we talked about, they've had a pretty good time when it comes to re-signing guys. They're core pieces, right? So
Yeah. Like they've had great success in getting these guys back for bargain of deals. Like having Hellebuck and Scheifele both come back at matching, what is it, 8.5? Something like
I think
that.
so.
Like
Yeah,
is ludicrous. So, if you can convince him and look at that number and be like, hey, Kyle, we know you're better, but like these guys are both making this. Will you take 10? If he takes that, you run with it. You run to
100%,
Bettman and get that notarized immediately. Like
100%.
how high do you think they'd be willing to go? Say Kyle Connor went mad and he wants the most money possible. Like he's playing in Winnipeg, it's cold, he wants to get paid. How high do you think the team's willing to go? Like
I mean, I think based where the cap is right now, and where it's projected to go, like 12 and a half, I think can be fair for him. Like if as long as he's consistent, going to be a 100-point guy, 40 goal range. Um,
50
I
if
I
goal
think
scoring's
that's
back up,
like
probably.
I think that's fair for a guy like Kyle Connor.
Yeah. Yeah, honestly, I could. And you know what? With the cap going up as much as it is, he's only 28. I could see an 8-year deal at even 13 mil. It would be on the pricier
I
end
wouldn't
for
be shocked
sure.
by it.
It would be on the pricier end for sure for the next few years, but as the cap keeps going up, we see more and more guys signing big deals. You know, it becomes better,
Hmm.
especially with the other sweetheart deals they got going on, kind of helping keep the overall team cap hit down.
Keep it lower. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Right. So you kind of do have that little bit of extra money to play with, and if it's got to go to keeping Kyle Connor, you got to do it. Artemi Panarin.
Panarin is it's kind of difficult to gauge because he had a decent fall off last year, but I do think they move him. I kind of think it's looking more and more like they will. The the Rangers don't seem like a team that like moving on from guys like him, despite seeing stuff with Truba and Kreider and all that.
Hmm.
Panarin's, those guys kind of fell off. Panarin's their star, right? So I feel
Yeah,
like they don't want to move on from him, but I think it'd probably be smart to at this point. He's 33. His points per game took a noticeable drop this past
take a
season,
dip.
like 89 points in 80 games. Still great on a team that's doing much worse than it had been. But,
Hmm.
before that, one or two seasons removed from 120 points. So, he's starting to get to that
Yeah,
age where guys fall off. You cash in while his value's still high, you get something back, you kind of do a bit of a retool. I think it would be smart for them to move him, and I don't know where. Well, didn't you have a spot that you were saying that he would be really good in?
I mean, I thought the idea of the Minnesota Wild, I thought that could be
Right.
fun and make sense. I mean, Kaprizov's there, and assuming Kaprizov signs long term to stay there, you just trade and brought in Vladimir Tarasenko. So I thought, hey, why not add Panarin into the mix? And on the other side, with the Rangers and being able to move Panarin, Panarin also might not be super open to staying with the Rangers, right? Like he's been there for a while now. It's pretty crazy how long he's already been a part of this team. But again, like what is he, 34?
33.
33. So, does he want to commit there much longer when I think the Rangers are going to be a decent team next year? I think the door's open to get back in the playoffs, but is there a path for Panarin to win a cup there in the next 4 years? I don't think so. It's possible, but I don't think so.
Shesterkin would have to go nuclear. He would have to go like
he would have to,
940 in the playoffs.
yeah, like he would have to carry the team. And if you're Panarin, do you want to commit to hoping that happens in the next 4 years? Probably not. So maybe it's going to be a situation where both sides are kind of like, let's figure out a trade because we're kind of, it makes sense for us to move on from you. Doesn't make sense for you to commit here and stick around, and let's try and figure out a deal that works for you, works for us, and we can be happy going our separate ways. And it's the Rangers, so is that going to happen? Probably not. It'll be a messy ending, but I think he's the most likely to get moved out of the guys we've talked about so far, though.
I definitely think so. I'm not 100% sure if he's more likely than the next guy here in Marty Necas, who his first comparable listed on cap wages is Mikko Rantanen, which I think is pretty funny. But Marty Necas, he wants to get paid, and the Avs weren't willing to do that for Mikko Rantanen. Are you willing to do it for Necas?
Yeah, I mean, it depends, I guess, on what Necas is asking, but I mean, we know with Colorado, if by the trade deadline Necas isn't locked in on an extension, they're gonna move him.
Yeah,
you can't walk away at the end and be like, we traded Ranton because he wouldn't sign for Necas, but we're gonna ride out with Necas and lose him for nothing. You're gonna trade him, and yeah, from what it sounds like, at least, I don't think they're gonna come to an agreement on a deal.
Did his points per game go down when he went to the Avalanche? He finished the season with 83 points in 79 games, just a bit over a point per game. But wasn't he in like borderline heart conversation with the Hurricanes? So like,
yeah,
the scoring must have fallen off, despite it sounded like he was doing fantastically in Colorado. So.
And he had a rough playoff go, too.
55 points in 49 games, so a little bit over a point per game in Carolina, and then 28 points in 30 games, a little bit under in Colorado. So, and then 5 points in 7 playoff games, only one of them goals. McKinnon was doing all the goal scoring for them in the playoffs. That's interesting that his points per game got worse going to the Avalanche in a top guy spot. Not a lot of guys tend to do that, right? Playing with that level of talent. There is something to be said for, going and having the full off season with the team, working with them, learning the system better. But that's probably one I imagine they'll wait partway through the season to see what he's playing like, and can he be that guy for us, or should we capitalize on his value and move him around?
I mean, yeah, right. Like if he's not going to sign, yeah, I mean you have to move him. And what are you looking to get back for your Colorado? I mean, you're gonna have Nichushkin for the full season. You're gonna have Landeskog back, but you need to get another forward to add to that top six if you're trading Necas. And How do you make a deal like that work? I don't fully know. Because he's looking for double digits. I think.
I
I
was
think he's
gonna
looking
say,
for at least
I'm pretty
10
sure.
mil.
I'm
I
pretty
think
sure
it's
he wanted
probably
at least
more
10.
than 10 mil even. So, um, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it
That's a tough spot for Colorado to be in yet again. You got to
yeah.
relive the Rantanen drama for second year in a row.
Well, this time they're hopefully going to put a clause on that if he comes back to their division and plays them in the playoffs, the other team owes him a pick or something because
You get an extra something.
it'll be brutal them trading Natchez and then him torching them in the playoffs after last year with Rantanen.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
Adrian Kempe, what do you
He's
think
not
goes with
getting
him?
moved. He'll stick around in LA.
I
He's kind
definitely
of
think so.
the core of their forwards now, and their top guys. So again, it's one of those kind of things where you can hand him a blank check and say like you're our top guys. So there's there's no one that we need to keep you under type of deal. So yeah, I think they figure out a deal. And Kempe, from what it sounds like, he loves it there in LA and wants to stay. So LA's trying to still win now. If you trade him, you might as well start a retool or something. But they're
Yeah.
going for it. So you sign him, you keep him around, and he continues to be your best player.
Hopefully they don't give him too much, I would say, just because I do think that there's a decent chance that by the time his current bridge deal ends, that Quentin Byfield could be better than him at that point. He definitely has the potential to be. And, you know, if you give a blank check to
Potentially.
Kempe and he, gets paid a huge amount, like say he gives himself, 11 mil, because I don't know if he's quite that guy. If he gives himself 11 mil and then Byfield looks like a better player, he's younger, he's bigger, well, now we're paying two guys a lot of money.
Mm-hmm. I
So
mean,
it'll be
you
interesting
cross
to see what
that
it comes
bridge
at.
when you get to. Yeah, I don't think Kempe probably. I honestly don't think he even gets to double digits, and I think he kind of knows that. Like I
Yeah.
think something in the 8.5 to 9.5 range, I think gets it done there, and I think both sides can walk away very happy,
Yeah.
in that range.
Yeah. I agree. I think he's probably going to settle in. Cap's going up, so people are asking for more money. I think it may probably settles around 9, something like that. But
Yeah,
with the cap going up, I don't think that'll be too much of an issue.
yeah. We already talked about Rasmus Andersson. Alex Tuck, I don't think he goes anywhere. Because again, I'm a believer that the Buffalo Sabres are going to take a step and be better. And Alex Tuck loves it there. He wants to win there, and I think Buffalo can also give him a pretty solid contract to stick around there and continue to be one of their top guys.
He is the one of those guys that I've just every time I've seen his name come up over the past 4 or 5 months, I just can't help but think how damn good he would look in a Bolts jersey. I would love for us to be able to get Alex Tuck somehow. It would take so much doing and so much extra work, but like, man, he is such a perfect player to round out a top 6.
Would you trade Cirelli 1-for-1 for Tuck?
No, I think
Because I
Sorelli's
almost kind of think
too
like that's
important on
kind
the
of got to
defensive
be
end.
you looking at Tampa's team. I think that's kind of got to be a starting point in there because like obviously you're not moving, Gensel, Kucherov, Hagel, Point,
Yeah.
whatnot, and Cirelli's kind of the guy where it's like it's him, and after him, there's not really anyone that's got value on that same level as an Alex Tuck. And obviously, I probably like it wouldn't be a one for
Yeah.
one deal; it would be a bigger deal with more parts. But I think that kind of, in my opinion, at least, would have to be the foundation of what that type of trade could look like.
I think you might be able to get something done with like Tuck for, it would have to be several parts, but I think one of the main pieces going back would be Bjorkstrand. Um, you know, same role, on that right wing, but obviously Tuck has more value. But it would be like Bjorkstrand, Sam O'Reilly. You'd probably still need another good player that could play for them now. Like it would have to have more pieces, but I think Bjorkstrand kind of covering that spot, that main hole that he would be leaving. There could be something there, but
Bjorkstrand, O'Reilly, and Moser.
something like that.
Just because Buffalo needs, because Moser's a right-hand defenseman, right?
He's at least playing on the right side. I'm pretty sure he's right-handed.
So, Buffalo could again going back to Buffalo. Buffalo can always use right-handed defensemen.
Yeah.
I definitely think that there is possibility for something like that. But I've always been on the belief that I think he'll resign there because
I think that's most
he loves
likely.
it there and he wants to be a part of this team as eventually they start to get back into winning ways and could be this season. Who knows? But a Tuck trade would be wild though. Would be interesting to see what that would look like if he was to, and kind of what his value is viewed at in the league amongst GMs, right? Because fans are always like super high on players and big on them, and then you see a trade and people are like, "Oh, that's all you got for him," or like, "Oh, it's an overpay." Like it's always interesting to see how
Tanner Jeannot gets like 3 point something. Yeah,
right. Like it's always interesting to see how GMs and whatnot view, these players and their value of what they're willing to give up and how much do you value a player and what are you willing to receive if you're giving him up, type of deal.
Do we have many other pending UFAs that we want to talk about?
That
was most UFAs, of the big ones.
Yeah, it's kind of all the major big ones, I think. The RFAs,
I think he sticks around in Minnesota.
Yeah, he ain't going.
Do you think they go long term with him though? They got Wallstedt coming up, but he had a bit of a weird last season.
Wallstedt was awful last year, so I think right now you got to. Yeah, I think Gustafsson's your guy, right? And I mean, if Wallstedt turns out to be something great, awesome, you can move on from Gustafsson, but I think you got to stick with your guy right now because there's no guarantee that you have anything that's going to be replacing him right now. So
yeah, I think that would be smart.
And again, Minnesota, like they didn't do shit with all the money that really opened up this offseason. So put that money towards your guys that you got now, I guess. Like that's gotta do something with it. If you're trying to contend, you don't want to be sitting there with a whole bunch of money left over. Got to spend it eventually.
Yeah. And that'll definitely come in majority, I think, in the Gustafsson and the Kaprizov trades next season. But yeah, for this season, they got a lot of empty money just sitting there.
Yeah.
Did you have anything else brought up?
I mean, not overly. You kind of look at the RFAs. Bedard's not going anywhere. Robertson, we've already talked about him before. Harley's not going anywhere. Fantilli, Lane Hudson, Leo Carlson, Logan Cooley, Dustin Wolf. Like none of those guys are going anywhere, and they're RFAs, so they can't just say, "Oh, I'm
they can't
walking."
force their way out.
Like where do you go? The door's locked. You can't get out. You're stuck here, right? So, I think that's kind of mostly it for the trade talk. Maybe some more rumors will come out over time, and we can kind of go back to some of these or whatnot. But I think right now, I think we did all we could in trying to break down what potentially could happen around the league.
Yeah. I do have one thing here. This is a bit more of a trivia thing. But I've got a graphic here that is all of the active players that have 1,000 games played or more in the NHL.
Holy fuck.
There's quite a few of them, but obviously, like the obvious ones. I don't think I'm spoiling anything to say that you probably would guess Crosby and Ovechkin, right? But I'd be interested to see if you could guess some of the further down names or the more recent ones or the guys who, have kind of fell off, but, back in their heyday, they played quite a few damn games.
Okay. So this
So
is just trying to just guess as many as I can, basically, type of deal.
that's kind of what I'm thinking. And honestly, like we've done so many of these at this point, like, if you want to, you can skip some of the obvious ones that Like we're not going for completionists to try and get the most, but
I say yeah,
if
because
you
like
get
I can name a bunch of the guys near the top, but trying to think of the guys that are near like just
yeah,
over 1,000 games.
yeah.
Um,
If you want to just try and
okay.
guess some guys that are, you know, over 1,000 games, but not, guys who are like going to be
Yeah,
first ballot Hall of Famers or like obvious guys,
yeah.
because there are
Um,
some fun names on here.
okay. Uh, I think a guy like Brock Nelson. I think did he hit it? Actually, maybe he's just shy of 1,000 still. I think
Brock
Brock Nelson is
Nelson.
actually just a little bit below.
I am not seeing Brock Nelson on here.
Okay. Um, I know John Tavares did. IT.
John Tavares did. Where is he? He's got to be up there.
And this is all among active NHL players, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Tavares has. He's almost at 1,200.
I was almost at 1,200.
1,184.
Um, it's kind of going through
Brock
team
Brock
by
Nelson is at
team.
920 games played. So
920.
another
I
full
knew he was
season.
in the 900s somewhere, but I thought maybe with Colorado, maybe he got there. I'm just trying to think of guys like as close to 1,000 as I can.
Yeah,
Um,
it's funny because it's broken up into 4 pages, right? Because there's so many names that there's too many to fit on one screen. And like, I'm confident you could get every single guy on the first page, every single guy on the second page, save maybe one.
yeah,
Uh, but like the second
I just
and
kind of
or
want the bigger, right? Like Crosby, Ovechkin,
yeah, the third and the
Kane.
fourth page have a lot of guys that like it makes sense, but I definitely wouldn't be guessing.
Wouldn't have. Okay. I'm just kind of trying to go through team by team and think, what about a Roman Yossi? I don't exactly know what his game plays
Roman
at,
Yossi.
but I feel
That's
like
actually an interesting one.
might have.
It's got the big yellow Nashville. I'm not seeing him on here, so I don't think he has.
Cat. No
Which is crazy
Yossi.
because he's like
Um,
35, isn't he? Yeah, he's 35. 962 games played. He's pretty close.
um, I'm just trying to think
He
of those
only played
guys that like I know
53
are
games
kind of
last year.
in that range. How many last year?
53.
53.
I forgot he missed so many. I don't know how I could forget. I had him on my fantasy team. I traded for him like right when he
Um,
got injured.
there's a guy in Dallas, Matt Duchene. I think he recently hit.
He's got to be there. 1,138 for Matt Duchene.
Also, he passed it actually a little bit ago. Um,
Like, I'm glad people are focusing on him a little more after last season because Matt Duchene really feels like he's had a bit of an underrated career. It feels like people thought he was going to be
kind of
one of the
does.
top guys in the league, and then when he wasn't that, everyone's like, "Oh, he fell off." But he's still been pretty damn good.
Um. Oh, I remember because actually, who was it on? There's a guy in Tampa. He Ryan McDonough. I know he just did because I remember actually watching the uh ceremony they did for him once they got back in because he didn't play his 1,000th game in Tampa, but when they were finally back at home, they did the whole
They did the
ceremony
whole
for
thing.
him.
Yeah, and you'd be correct. He is the most recent player on the list to get it, or at least has the least games played over 1,000. He's at 1,010.
Oh, just recently hit it. Okay. Um, kind of thinking through teams.
Yeah. And if any point that you want, we could just cut it there and I could
Oh,
just go through the list and
Cam Fowler. I know he did because he
yeah,
got
he is
traded out of
also on the
Anaheim
last
just
page.
beforehand.
He is tied with another guy on the list at 1042 games played.
1,042.
1,000 is
Um,
a lot of games.
it's a lot. It's a lot. Um, I don't know how many. No, no, he wouldn't be on the list. Actually, no, he wouldn't. He didn't play enough.
Let's hear it. Let's hear it.
Um, I'm blanking on the name though. I'm trying to think because I know. Um, I always keep going back to Ryan Suter, but like I know it's not. I know it's not Ryan Suter because I know Ryan Suter's probably actually got the most, assuming he's still currently listed as an active NHL player.
He is not on the list, which I assume means they don't count him as active because I'm pretty sure he has
Oh,
over 1,500, right?
yeah. What about a guy like Jordan Everly? I feel like he recently. I remember seeing a ceremony for him.
You would be correct. He is the top one on the fourth page at 1,060 games played. It's kind of crazy.
Um,
He's already been
yeah.
around that long. Relatively healthy too.
Trying to just
You're
think of it because
missing
it's got to be like
you're
older
missing a
guys.
couple fellas on your San Jose Sharks.
Oh, so he did. So he did recently reach 1,000. Okay, so Nick Leddy would be on there then.
Nick Leddy is one of the guys tied at 1,042 games.
Okay, because I was kind of debating on him, but I was like, I felt like he was one of those guys that was because he. I feel like he hasn't played as much over the last few years, but maybe he's actually played more than maybe more than I thought.
It did kind of feel like
Um,
he disappeared for a little bit. Maybe that was just when he was playing with St. Louis. Uh,
yeah.
yeah, he was a bit of an Iron Man for about a decade there, and then first year in St. Louis, he played 20 games. Oh, that was 55 with Red Wings and 20 in the same season with the Blues. 78, 82, only 31 this past season. So,
Michael Backlund would be on there somewhere.
1,066 for Michael Backlund. Yes, sir. There's
All right,
still
start
one
listing
more.
some of them off. Oh,
There's still
sorry.
one more shark. Do you wanna guess the last shark?
Well, it would have to be someone they recently added. Orlov wouldn't. Klingberg has missed way too much time. Uh, oh, Jeff Skinner.
Jeffrey Skinner, 1,078.
Uh, yeah, because he was in the club of over 1,000 games without a playoff game under his belt. So that makes sense.
That would have been so funny if he played for so long without getting the playoffs. Everyone was like, finally, he's in Edmonton. He's going to do it. Gets to the playoffs, plays one game, gets scratched. It would have been so funny if he just got scratched the whole rest of the way and they
Just
won the
never.
cup.
Yeah, that'd be rough. I mean, he would get a cup at the end of the day, so like
He would get the cup, but like
but it would be a little disappointing too.
it would
Yeah.
feel a little weird in his stomach for sure.
Oh, most definitely.
Some of the other names down closer to 1,000. We said McDonough, Dmitry Kulikov reached it last season.
Oh, Kulikov. Yeah.
Braden
Yeah.
Shen reached 1,000. Who else have we not said? Oliver Ekman Larson, 1,059.
Oh, I should have had that one actually.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
that's a good one. Tyler Myers would never have
No.
guessed that. I would have guessed he's in a 600 to 700 range.
Yeah, I would not have thought 1,000.
Um, listed as active because he's back. Jonathan Taves, 1,067.
Really, he's that close? I almost said him, but I was like, he's got to be more than that. But I guess he hasn't played the last
Yeah,
few years, so
I would have expected at least 1,200
I
probably.
was gonna say that's kind of where I was at about like 1,200 or so.
Like drafted back in 2007, part of a dynasty. Like he didn't play the last few years, but I thought he would have had a couple more. Um,
Yeah,
Luke Shen, him
Luke.
and and his brother both over 1,000 games now. James Van Riemsdyk. That's, good for him, I guess.
Yeah, that's there. That's
Uh,
something.
we're getting to a couple bigger names, but some younger ones that are a little surprising to get there, like Eric Carlson. These guys are all more than 82 games above it, so they've been there for at least a season. But Eric Carlson, Alex Petrangelo, John Carlson, Marchand hit 1,100. The other one that I thought would be hard to guess, I would never have thought of this, Lars Eller.
Nah, I do remember him actually his silver stick ceremony. I remember watching that, but yeah, would not have been one of the first few guys that I would have
Yeah,
guessed. So
1,100 games for him, and from there
a
on, it's a lot of the obvious ones, the Hall of
lot of the
Famers.
yeah, the kind of the
Uh,
first ones you would go to.
yeah, David Perron. He's closing in on 1,200 games. He's less than 30 games away from that. And Nick Foligno, 1,233. Foligno's got more games played than Malkin.
Wow,
Like, that seems kind of
it's kind of
crazy.
wild actually. That's kind of wild actually. Um,
Who's the
yeah, but I like to
active
get right
games
on that.
played leader?
In the NHL right now?
Yeah,
Well, if we're not counting Ryan Suter, I'm gonna guess Brent Burns.
you would be correct. It is Brent
Yeah,
Burns.
because
By
he hasn't missed a game over the last like 10 years, 10 seasons at least.
he is 6 ahead of Ovechkin. So Ovechkin's injury to his leg midseason must have allowed him to sneak
Wow.
past him there.
Even without Ovechkin's injury, I still would have thought Burns because of. But I guess Ovechkin, yeah, like he doesn't have an Iron Man streak, but he like hardly ever missed time. He was always playing in that
Machine
lineup.
never
So.
breaks.
But I think that's all of our kind of talking points for this episode. Again, we're kind of just testing stuff out right now, having a little bit of fun before
Yeah, we're just messing around with it.
Yeah, before we kind of gear up and do, getting stuff going as the preseason training camps are about to kick off here, and we do some previews and predictions. So I think we are at the end of this one. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed this kind of fun format. It's going to be the norm. It's kind of just something we're trying out today as we're kind of working through stuff. We're trying to make improvements, and we've got lots going on here. So hopefully you enjoyed it. If you want to let us know what you thought of it, if you want to talk hockey, anything about the off season, this upcoming season, or any ideas or things you want us to discuss before the season gets underway, you can do so through any of our socials. The links to all of them are down in the description across all episodes, across all platforms. Braden, as always, final thoughts.
Final thoughts. If you enjoyed this and you like being able to see our faces, let us know and we'll try and make it happen again.
They love it. They love it.
I like to think so. I hope so. We got our hats on. You got a nice golf fit going on. I think we're looking pretty snazzy. But yeah, I mean, there's definitely things we could do to make this look better. But I think for right now, this is not bad, and we'll be able to find ways to tweak settings, get better lighting, whatever, and make it look even nicer from here. So if you
Yeah,
like
we're
this,
always making improvements.
So if you guys like this, we'll keep trying to do it as often as we can, and you know, situations permitting, and yeah, we'll keep setting it up. If people want it, we'll do it.
I'm right there with you. It's always work in progress, but again, we are always making improvements because we're capable of that. Not the best with technology, but we're always figuring it out and making shit work. So that is it for this episode. Once again, hope you all enjoyed. And as always, we will see all of you out on the ice next week. I was going to say later this week. Next week. See you on the ice next week.